What up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Charter presented by St. Xavier University. I am your host, Alex Shapiro, and with me today is Clay Harbor, our guy, to break down the 10th Bears loss in a row. For the second time in 3 years, the Bears lose 10 games in a row. This was in offensively pathetic fashion. Defense had a little resurgent moment, completely masked by the awful performance by the offense. So, Clay, just give me your first thoughts after watching that 6-3 game on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, I feel like we all came back after the Detroit game and we said, a lot of good things, right? Obviously, they lost. It wasn't close, but we did see, Caleb Williams take a couple steps forward. And that's what we want. I just want to see Caleb Williams take a couple steps forward. Offensive line wasn't great, but they weren't bad. I think they only had 2 sacks in that game. But right here was a regression to the mean. I feel like Caleb struggles to put together 2 or 3 great games. We'll see him step up, make some huge throws. Then a day like today, it comes back down. I will say, obviously, the elements weren't great. You saw Seattle struggle a lot, but this wasn't a great defense. They were 18th in sack rate. Okay, that's below midpoint of the NFL. I mean, they're giving up the 13 most points in the league. Not a great defense. Obviously, McDonald, the defensive coordinator / head coach, comes from that Ravens team, defense 3-4. They'll scheme up some things. They'll confuse you. And as a player, that's tough. You got to prepare for that short week. I get it. But I think this comes back to depth on the offensive line. I mean, there just wasn't enough time to throw the ball. They had a couple of good runs there. Play calling with Thomas Brown seems to have taken a step back. Clock management, situational play calls, situational clock management. I know we're going to get to, but overall, this was just a disheartening game for the Bears. You start to hear the chants in the stadium. I heard it watching at home. Sell the team, sell the team. You have the guys with the bags in their head. You're panning up to the guys in a nice, comfy booth up there, and it's just tough. And you hate to see it. As a lifelong Bears fan myself, a Chicagoan, I feel like they need to do better. You feel for the fans. You feel for the people that spend their hard-earned money to go out there, sit in the rain, watch this team, and to watch a performance like that is honestly embarrassing, and I don't even have the Bear blue on.
Yeah. Caleb Williams was not particularly good tonight. He did make some spectacular throws. His 3rd and 14 to completion to Romadunze on the last drive, really good. His touchdown that got nullified by holding, really good. There were other plays, the ball that was on the turf that he then fits in like an incredibly tight window for a first down. Great plays.
Fourth down to DJ Moore.
Fourth down to DJ Moore.
Incredible.
So handful of great moments.
Yeah.
But not enough consistently over the course of the game. Yeah. So he wasn't particularly good, but he didn't really get much help from the rest of the team. I mean, you mentioned it. The offensive line was not good. The Seahawks brought pressure a bunch. The Bears really could not handle it. There was one play in particular that was just replaying, and we were talking about it on the walk down to the locker room, where 2 guys are coming at Larry Borum, and instead of taking one out and hopefully, Caleb Williams couldn't evade the other, I mean, he just freezes and blocks neither. And now it's 2 guys coming unblocked at Caleb Williams. I am pinpointing one particular moment because it was so it was such a microcosm, but there were a lot of bad moments. And again, it was across the line. It wasn't just one guy. It wasn't just Larry Borum. A lot of guys were having issues. And then the drops. I mean, this has just become a season of drops for typically sure-handed wide receivers, for whatever reason, have had issues catching the ball this season. That continued. So not a good day for the offense. But let's talk about the last drive, because it was shades of that Lions game that got Matt Eberflus fired. It looked a lot like that.
Yeah, when you need your timeouts to decide to punt the ball, then to call a timeout, come back on the field, you need those timeouts. You're down 3 and you're going to waste time out. Just make up your mind sooner. I know listening to the presser, Thomas Brown said, I decided to go for it. I changed my mind. I wanted to be aggressive. Be aggressive straight from Jump Street. Don't waste a timeout. And those things are gold. Those things are precious at that time in the game. Okay, you waste a timeout. You come back out. You do get it, right? Why do you take so long after the big play to get back to the line? I know we talked about this when Odunze catches the ball at 105, and you pointed this out. The next snap is at 38. Why not call a timeout there? You save your timeout, you call a timeout there. You got a minute and 5 seconds. You're not rushing. Okay, so there's a lot of things. Like you go back situationally, and then you hear him talking, okay, you're at the 40. You need to get to the 37 or the 34 to kick a field goal. Why are we running deep balls? Why are we throwing deep passes? Let's call it quick screen. I know obviously you had some up and down plays with quick screens. Maybe call just a stick route to the tight end. Did the tight end play today? Call it a stick route to the tight end, a flat route. I mean, a zone read play with the quarterback to take out the zero blitz that you're getting. There's so many different things you could have done in that situation. Just throw deep balls when all you need is 5 yards to kick a field goal, go to overtime, try to win the game. Things like this, when they happen, make me feel like maybe they don't really care about winning the game. Maybe it's an extra couple slots in your draft board. I don't know. I'm not accusing them of tanking, but to me, it's obvious. Why are you running deep passes? You have a timeout when you can get 5 to 10 yards and then kick a field goal, go to overtime. It's the statistics, the odds of getting 5 to 10 rather than going for these crazy long passes in that situation is completely different. So I have a lot of questions about that. I'm sure Thomas Brown is going to get asked more and more throughout the week, but I am still curious about the situational play callings, the timeouts, and everything you did at the end of the game.
Yeah, the timeouts, and something I really want to drive home with these two timeouts, both of them were called with the clock stopped. The first timeout, as you mentioned, was when Thomas Brown said he changed his mind. They considered doing a punt and pin 3 and out and then go from there with hopefully better field position. He says he changes his mind. They decide to go for it, and they did. They converted the first down. So it was a good decision to change your mind. Yeah. Even though you can, as Clay said, you could maybe make that decision the first time around without using the timeout.
Yeah.
And then the second timeout, let me get this exactly right. Came after an incomplete pass. It was 1st and 10.
To avoid the delay of game. Coming out of an incomplete pass to avoid a delay of game, the Bears have to spend their second timeout. And delay of game is only 5 yards. And I know you're trying to get into field goal range, but it's like, do you trade the opportunity? You think your team can get more than 5 yards on a play at that situation when you got to have it? I don't know. I mean, that goes back to your analytics, what that all says. But to me, maybe you shouldn't have been in that situation. Caleb said maybe he got his throat hit or something.
That was on the Odunze. So this is another one, which is also worth unpacking. So, I mean, with the second one, the delay of game is just like, again, the operation is not clean. It's not going quickly enough. The play call, right? This is something that Caleb Williams praised Thomas Brown about when he became the offensive coordinator. The play call is getting in sooner so that I can get the guys in and out of the huddle sooner. That obviously wasn't happening. Now, what you're talking about, him getting hit in the head and throat, this to me sounded like Caleb Williams actually throwing his coaches under the bus a little bit. It was interesting because he took on a lot of blame and said, listen, I got to take the heat. I wasn't playing well. I took too many dumb sacks. The sacks where I'm running backwards, I can't take. And, there's one where I have a guy at the boundary, I just throw it over his head, and I need to do that. But then the play we're talking about, the 3rd and 14 or whatever it was, to completion to Rome Odunze to keep the chains moving. That's the one where Odunze catches the ball at 105. The next snap is at 38. And I believe it was Courtney Cronin asked about that sequence. Like, hey, what took so long? And did it feel like deja vu from the Lions game? And he kind of said, well, I got hit in the throat and the head, and I guess the coaches didn't notice, and kind of insinuated like, if the coaches had noticed and maybe they called a timeout, then all of this time wouldn't come off. And then he kind of couches it with, but I just got to get up, shake it off, and get things going.
I know he's rookie, but you can call a timeout too in that situation. right? A quarterback can call timeout. And at this point in the season, you're not a rookie no more. So everybody used to say in the locker room after like the 10th game, you're not a rookie no more. You can't play like a rookie. You can't make rookie mistakes. You got to take on more ownership. Call the timeout. You got to hit in the neck, the throat. You don't feel like you can get back to the line of scrimmage in time. You see how much time's on the clock, how much time's running off the clock. Call a timeout. Coach be like, why'd you call a timeout? Be like, yo, I got hit in the throat and the neck. I didn't want to waste that time. Done. Conversation over. You're on to the next play, and you saved about 105 when he catches it. You save literally 27 seconds, which are precious time at the end of the game, and you got a first down. You're in a great situation. Call the timeout, take a breather, get your throat, your neck, your head right, everything you need, and you'll be fine. And to go back a little bit, it's hard for me to put a lot of this blame on Thomas Brown, Alex. As you said, he was getting the play calls in faster. That just goes back to the decision to make him the head coach. Keep him up in the booth. He's comfortable up there. He's doing a good job up there. He's seeing he's out of the mess. He's not really focusing on the defense, the full play. He's helping Caleb. He's getting the ball out quick. Everything he's doing is Caleb Williams, right? So instead of focusing on the defense, focusing on the special teams, he's focusing on Caleb. During the defensive possessions, guess what he's doing? He's slipping through plays. What did we do well this drive? What did we do well that drive? What should we do well next? And you're flipping, and the next thing you know, you got the next drive coming. Like when you're a tight end, I'm on the field. The defense is on the field. I'm a tight end on the sidelines, right? So I'll be standing next to my tight end coach. You'll be like, okay, said offensive coordinator, we'll say Greg Olson, one of my offensive coordinators in Jacksonville. Greg says we're going to run this next drive. Be ready for this. Be ready for this. So now you could be in Caleb's ear, giving him a little bit of, okay, he says we're ready for these plays. So now you get to kind of visualize what you're going to be doing, what you're going to be seeing. Play call comes out smoother. You're just ready. And it takes away a little bit of that anxiety of, okay, what's the play call going to be? Now you know, and now it's quicker to diagnose everything going on in the defense because you're kind of expecting the play calls. These are the calls we're going through. When you're down on the field, when you're the head coach, that's completely different. You're not getting that communication from your offensive coordinator. He's focused on the defense. He's seeing what they're doing. He's seeing what the special team's doing. So that just comes back to me, to the decision to move Thomas Brown down to the field. At the time, I was saying, hey, give this guy a shot. Let's see what he can do. What else do we have to lose in this situation? But looking back, in hindsight, I think that was the wrong move. Keep him up in the booth. Keep working on progressing Caleb, and you would have had more success doing that than actually making this guy the head coach.
Yeah. So all of these offensive woes, as I said at the top, kind of masked a really nice bounce back performance for the Bears defense. The defense had struggled a lot.
Oh, man.
Since the firing of Matt Eberflus, and even leading up to the firing of Matt Eberflus. It got worse, but it has been a bad year for the Bears defense, but they held the Seahawks out of the end zone. They held them to 5 of 13 on third down. They had the big takeaway. Kyler Gordon strips the ball. They had another forced fumble. Darrell Taylor got the ball out. The Seahawks recovered that one. So do you take any solace from this defensive bounce back performance, a unit that has a lot of guys still under contract moving forward, or is it like no moral victories in a stinker like this for you?
I think it's good to see the defense play well because since the Eberflus firing, they were giving up 34 points a game and like 415 yards, right? I mean, this was atrocious defense just to have the bounce back and to have that happen. But I will say the Seahawks offensive line has been decimated. They gave up 16 pressures last week against the Vikings, and obviously they're going against Brian Flores, tough defense to go to. But you did see him make plays, and as good as the defense played, there was still some other stuff they left on the field there. When Tremaine Edmonds dropped that interception, I mean, the Bears are going to lose by 3. Guess what? The Bears lost by 3. You pick that ball off, you don't kick that field goal. So opportunistic, maybe you could make a few more plays, but you really can't complain with 6 points given up. And obviously you're in a situation to where the rain does play a factor. But I will say with the technology, you got these rain gloves, Alex, that are just as good as regular gloves when it's not raining. It's not the old days when the ball's slick. You can still catch the ball. You can still throw the ball. So it did help the defense that the fact that it was a little wet, it was rainy, the field wasn't in the best conditions. But I was impressed with what I saw from the defensive line, linebackers, even defensive backs. Because DK Metcalf, he was first in the league with 14 passes caught over 20 yards. Big, deep threat. You didn't see him do much at all. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 5th in the NFL in receiving yards, 7th in receptions. This guy's been a slot machine all year, and he didn't do much. He didn't do much tonight. So overall, I thought they really stepped up, and you can take a little bit of pride if they have another game against Green Bay and they hold them if Green Bay even plays their starters into the offseason and say, hey, we struggled. We were good. We struggled. But at the end of the season, we did bounce back and we did some good things like the last couple of games. And we're going to take that into the offseason, take that into next season, and use that as confidence moving forward into the offseason program.
Now, Clay, we are going to do something in a little bit. We're going to give some gifts for the Bears, gifts that we would like to give. But before that, I ran a poll on X, and I kind of want to, I remembered it, and I want to bring it into the show, and I want to get your thoughts on this. I asked fans on X, which was the worst TNF performance, Thursday Night Football performance? Tonight's 6-3 loss to the Seahawks, or 2 years ago when the Bears lost to the Commanders after the Velus Jones muff punt that led to a touchdown and the Darnell Mooney catch just short of the goal line to lose the game on 4th down. What do you think would win in terms of the worst TNF game
tonight? I remember that game vividly. I think tonight wins is the worst performance because the Bears actually should have won that game. If Mooney catches that ball, you win that game. Fields brought him back. It was an ugly game, a lot of sacks. Bears should have won. Bears actually had the game in hand. If Mooney comes out with that ball, I remember that game. Tonight, 6-3. And this was some ugly stuff. We did see some good things from Caleb. We saw a lot of bad from Caleb. 7 sacks, 66 sacks on the year now. It has to be tonight, right?
Interesting. My gut says 2022. The muff was so bad. And then, the Bears had that hope where it looked like Mooney had caught the ball and won the game, right? I mean, it looked like the Bears had won the game. And then we hear Mooney has lost the ball on the lights, and then you see the bobble, and oh my God, he's short. That whole thing, the way it was drawn out of, did he actually cross the goal line? Is he short? I mean, that was excruciating.
Maybe it's because this one's fresh to me, and I just watched it. If I went back and watched that game, I might think differently. Some things were lost in translation with all these bad losses that we've seen since then.
Sure.
But right now, I mean, this was a hard one.
It was. Hop in the comments. Let us know which was worse. Tonight's 6-3, just ugly fest. I mean, it was ugly all the way around. Or 2 years ago when the Bears lost 12-7.
Tweet this one. My phone died on me, so I'm on my iPad and obviously the computer right now. But man, both of those were ugly games. Thanks for bringing that one back, Alex. I kind of stored that one way back in the memory bank and let that one go. But now I'm feeling that one again too.
This is my pitch to ban the Bears from Thursday Night Football, mainly because I don't think anybody really likes covering the Thursday Night Football. Listen, getting to cover football for a living is a blessing, and I don't want to I must acknowledge that it's a wonderful thing to be able to do for a living. Nobody likes Thursday.
It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. You would like to cover a win. You don't want to cover 10 straight losses, Alex. We know it's fun, it's great, but still 10 straight. Can we get a win in there? Can we have a happy chat at some point saying the Bears did this good, this good, this good? They came away with a win. 10 straight losses. If he loses, this is the second longest losing streak in Bears history. The first longest 2 years ago, 14 games. Yeah. Ryan Poles is holding both of these losing streaks right now.
Yeesh. Not good. Okay, so along those lines, that's a perfect segue, Clay. That's a perfect segue. It's the holiday season. It's the spirit of giving. So Clay and I are going to give gifts to the Bears. What are gifts we would like to give to the Chicago Bears so that they can enjoy 2025, they can enjoy this holiday season? Clay Harbor, what is the gift you would like to give to the Chicago Bears this year?
The gift I want to give to the Bears, and I like giving, like they say, the holiday season is more about giving than receiving. I didn't get anything. I got a $20 Starbucks card and some scratch-off lottery tickets, and I gave a ton of gifts. That's all I got, Alex, but I don't care. It's all about giving, not receiving. I enjoy that. And for the Bears fans, here's the gift that I want to give them. I want to give them a new general manager. I'm sorry, Ryan Poles. I like Ryan Poles as a person. He comes from the pedigree at Kansas City. Andy Reid, one of my favorite humans. He's a guy that drafted me. Got to play with him for 4 years. Incredible human. Poles comes from there. But to me, there's been too many missteps. You got to look back and say, what makes you trust this guy? Why should he keep his job moving forward when you're bringing in a new coach? Why not marry a coach with a GM? Unless you extend them, this is going to be a weird time frame. Unless you extend Poles, now you got a new coach coming in, your GM's only got another year left. You got to extend them, or you got to fire them, in my opinion, right? And so here's why. I wrote down a couple things here, Alex. I knew you'd want some explanation. Okay, so first I got hiring of obviously Eberflus. Okay, that's not good judgment. Luke Getsy. Let's not forget about Luke Getsy. You're in there. You're the point guy. You hire Luke Getsy. Obviously, Eberflus staff, but you sign off on it. You're in the interviews. Then Shane Waldron. You go and hire Shane Waldron. You did 9 interviews. Cliff Kingsbury, Liam Cohen, Thomas Brown, the guy who's your head coach right now. You interviewed all these guys. You interviewing all these guys and settling on Shane Waldron. Why does that give me faith that you're going to hire the right head coach if you couldn't hire the right offensive coordinator? It doesn't. And then we're going to go back to some of the player personnel stuff, Alex. Okay, Nate Davis, why was our offensive line so bad? You gave $30 million to a guy that couldn't play. I love Tevin Jenkins. We're talking about Tevin today on the Big Pro Football Show. I love his attitude. I love the way he's a mauler. This guy can't stay on the field. He missed so much this year. He's missed at least 75% of the snaps in 32 of his 68 games. 8 games a year, he is not playing in 75% of the snaps. Half the games, you can't count on this guy. So now you got Jake Curran in here. You score a touchdown, and the guy's holding. Okay, if you have Tevin or a guard of his caliber that's in the game, that's not going to happen. That might be the win right there. I'm not done yet, Alex. Velus Jones, holding on to him, 3rd-round pick. Okay, Zach Pickens, inactive tonight, 3rd-round pick. Let's go back to the Chase Claypool trade. Trade that for a 2nd-round pick. Wasn't even a 2nd-round pick. That's number 32. You put the 32nd pick on your offensive line. How's it O-line look? And let's go back to the Montez Sweat trade. Okay, the Bears, great stat. 17 players got at least half a sack this year. That's cool. We don't have one player over 5 sacks this year, including $100 million man Montez Sweat. The Vikings have 3 over 7. Why are the Vikings where they are? Why are the Bears where they are? Our defensive line. And Montez Sweat was going to be a free agent, and you traded a 2nd-round pick, ended up being the 40th pick, Cooper DeJean. Not saying you pick him, but maybe put another guy in the offensive line right there. Your offensive line is stacked at this point if you do all those things. So all those decision makings, the foresight. I like Ryan Poles. I love seeing a general manager, a black general manager. It's great, but I'm sorry. You're not good at your job. You haven't done anything to show me that you are good at your job. You have the 2 longest losing streaks in Bears history. Okay? You can't keep your job. I'm sorry. Kevin Warren, do what's hard. Bring in a new general manager. Maybe take the assistant GM from Detroit and the offensive coordinator from Detroit. A team that turned around their organization that was the laughingstock. I played for the Detroit Lions. Their last playoff game before last year, I was on the field. 2016 against Seahawks, we got beat. But they turned their system around. I want some of that. So
how'd they do it? How'd they do it, Clay? How'd they turn that system around?
You brought in a new coach and a new GM. Bob.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was saying in the trenches. I was trying to set you up in the trenches. Defensive line, offensive line.
Yes, another segue. You built in the trenches. They started up front. You got Penei Sewell. You got Glasgow. You got a stud offensive line in front of your quarterback. And I think that leads me into the gift that Alex wants to give to you Bears fans. But mine is a new general manager. You're welcome. I don't need anything in return, but that's what I want to give to you guys.
No, you did. You set me up perfectly, because the gift I'm giving, and they kind of probably do go hand in hand, is 4 new offensive linemen for the Chicago Bears. And, you talked about Tevin Jenkins, a Ryan Pace pick, but Poles retained him, right? Or, made him a starting left guard and did not have adequate backups, knowing that he had injury history, right? So that's how that becomes kind of a Poles decision in terms of this year. So Tevin Jenkins, again, when he's in there, he's looked good. He has the nasty. He has the tone setting that you want. Not on the field enough. Coleman Shelton has not been, in my opinion, sufficient answer at center.
Good backup.
They haven't had a sufficient answer at right guard in years.
Yeah.
They've been searching at right guard. Darnell Wright has his bad moments, like everybody else on this offensive line, but he looks like somebody you can work with. Top 10 pick. We're not giving up on Darnell Wright. I'm also not giving up on Braxton Jones. However, there must be real competition for Braxton Jones. Not Karan Amagaji, who has a quad injury and is hurt. And, the idea that he was competing for that job, and we talked about that competition. The way things played out, obviously, I mean, it's – I don't want to say laughable. But it's a little, it's like, wow, did we actually think that was going to be a competition at left tackle? He ended up missing the entire season, or the summer program, the off season. So it became a completely moot point. But there was talk of, Karan, he'll push for a starter role down the road, but, we're not going to put a ceiling on the guy. We'll see what he does. Just like Braxton Jones. We didn't put a ceiling on Braxton Jones, and halfway through OTAs, he became a starting left tackle. We'll see what Karan can do. So, again, I am not taking Braxton Jones' job away from him right now, but you are bringing in a serious competitive player, and you're making that an open competition in a way that it is not going to be an open competition at right tackle because Caleb Williams, it is clear, and he said it tonight. These hits are adding up. Once again, Caleb Williams, he was sacked 6 times. Did it actually go up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sacked 7 times tonight by the time it was all said and done. He is probably not going to get the record for most sacks ever. That was David Carr, but he is well on his way to 70. And it was 5 times this season that Caleb Williams has been sacked, 6 times or more.
Oof.
This guy is everything for this franchise. We cannot overstate that. Caleb Williams is everything, and the most important thing to his success is keeping him upright. And yes, some of the sacks were on Caleb Williams. At some points, he's backpedaling too much. He needs to get the ball out. But again, it is clear that the hits are stacking up. They're having a cumulative effect. It seems to be affecting his processing. It seems to be affecting his eyes, like his eyes dropping, his pocket presence. You do not want to ruin Caleb Williams' potential. You don't want to limit his upside because he starts seeing ghosts, because he can't trust his protection, because he starts to go in hero ball mode. That's the absolute worst thing that could happen for this team, for this offense, for this franchise, because you invested so much in Caleb Williams. When you have the number 1 overall pick and you use that number 1 overall pick on a quarterback, you gotta hit it. Otherwise, it just sets your franchise back. I mean, it could set them back 5-10 years, truly. So they've got the playmakers. They have who they believe is the QB. You're working on the coach. That's a work in progress. The next work in progress, you got to get a consistent offensive line that can block, that can create holes in the run game so that it's not always 3rd and 8, which is something, that's another can of worms. So he's not always in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. And so that more importantly, he can trust the protection up front. His eyes don't start dropping. He doesn't lose that pocket presence because that would be a shame. It would be a shame if the Bears squandered a talent like Caleb Williams.
Absolutely. That's a good gift, Alex. That offensive line is a work in progress. And the thing is, Poles told us the most depth he's seen at his offensive line come into the season. And you look at the starting offensive line in training camp, Braxton Jones, Tevin Jenkins, Ryan Bates. Don't get me started on the Ryan Bates trade. Gave up a 5th-round pick for him. Haven't seen him at all. Nate Davis, Darnell Wright. Tonight's Borum, Curran, Shelton, Pryor, Wright. So your depth of the offensive line that you flouted about, you said was really, really good, has turned out to not be as such. And I would like to see even a veteran offensive line. Like, give me some free agents, some veterans. I don't know what's out there, but if you can, if free agency, we got to take a look in free agency, and I'm sure we'll be doing that early in the offseason, talking some free agent football, so make sure you guys tune in for that. But I want to get guys that know what they're doing when they see a zero blitz. When you see a guy rushing off the edge, you got two blitzers. Block one, block the most dangerous man. Don't let both of them go through and yell at the quarterback, look out! That's not going to work. Give me some guys that know what they're doing. I think Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright, like you said, give Braxton some competition. Darnell Wright, I think, can be a dude with another offseason. I think he can actually be one of those stalwarts, Lane Johnson type guy that you just know that right side is locked down. But great gift. I mean, that was going to be my second pick for the gift for the Bears as an actual offensive line. And I came up with a stat today on the Big Pro Football Show. Let me find this real quick. I know exactly where it's at. So listen to this one, Alex. Obviously 67 sacks this year. The Bears are only averaging 3.5 yards per carry the last 3 games. And they're poised to finish last in the NFL in sacks allowed per pass play for the 3rd time in the past 4 seasons. This isn't a one-off. You're finishing last in NFL sacks allowed per pass for the 3rd time in the past 4 seasons. And obviously it's a quarterback stat too, but a lot of those tonight, I'm watching the replay, I'm saying, that's on the line. Okay, especially when you got a young quarterback back there. We've had Justin, we've had Caleb. Unacceptable. Fix this line.
Not much more to say after that. We talked about Ryan Pohl's job being safe a few weeks ago, and it seemed like he would be around, and Kevin Warren pretty emphatically said Ryan's our GM and he's going to be our GM going forward. But as we said back then, and as we've repeated, it's a week-to-week league, and things have gotten worse. So we will see what week 18 brings. The Bears wrap things up at Lambeau Field. We will be back. They'll be back at Hallis Hall. The Bears finish out at Lambeau Field, where they've played great. So it should be a hell of a finale, Clay.
Yeah, they're great against the Packers, man. I mean, what's their record the last 10?
Probably 0-10. Almost certainly 0-10.
Yeah, I think it's 0-10.
In their last 20, it might be 2-18. I don't know. That's off the top of my head. That's completely off the top of my head. So not to be so bleak and gloomy, we hope you had a wonderful holiday season. We hope this Thursday night football performance that was undoubtedly a stinker does not ruin your new year. New year, new me, new year, new team, new year, new coach. So let's trying to find good vibes. Hope everybody has a wonderful holiday season. Stay safe out there. Have a happy new year. Be well. We will be back, and we're going to be talking Bears. So again, thank you so much for sticking with us on The Charter, presented by St. Xavier University. If this was just group therapy for you, we hope that was helpful too. We're not going anywhere. So stick with us. We'll be breaking down games. We're going to be doing off season. It's going to be great, and hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful wrap up to your 2024.